Hi, everybody. So good to see so many people interested in this subject. We starting today the concept of the four phases, but I think that we're going to actually call it today the Tree of Life Reality. That would be maybe probably more of our subject. So, first of all, welcome to class number 1. This course will be 4 weeks where we can learn the most basic, fundamental idea of Kabbalah and Spheroid and the spiritual reality. Before I even begin, I first want to say how thrilled I am to create the opening for so many people to the idea of the spiritual tree of life. It is a subject that is probably the most important and the most serious knowledge of Kabbalah. And many of the classes that we take are great classes, and they are supposed to eventually bring the person to study the most deepest principle of Kabbalah that are the things we're going to talk about in this course. So it will be probably the beginning, the entrance, the introduction to a whole study. And I would like to share with you a few things. I don't know, some of you are new and some of you are not so familiar with our organization. So my name is Moshe Rosenberg, and my background is more scientific. I learn electronics, I learn physics, I learn mathematics, and Kabbalah made more sense to me in that way, to see how the mathematic ideas are part of the universe and are part of our reality, and that science and spirituality can go hand with hand, and they can actually complement each other and can complete each other. And that's why I got more interested in Kabbalah, and definitely this specific study. My teacher, though, Rosenberg, and my teacher Karen, his wife, took such great wisdom and democratized it and made it as a cognitive awareness that people around the world will be able to understand what Kabbalah is, and it would not be kept just for those selected few, those people that are only interested in spirituality. However, Karen, I should say, created this form that you are sitting in now. And that is what's so unique, because there were many Kabbalists in history. And they also knew Kabbalah and they were teaching Kabbalah, yet there was never a woman there to create this form of like a warm place, a warm house that people can come and study it as a personal ideas and not just, some philosophy and knowledge. And the center is different from many places. First, by the fact that we are the first one that teach Kabbalah, taught Kabbalah, spread it around the world. The Zohar, we bring it out to the world. We were condemned, we were stoned, literally and physically, and of course, metaphysically by doing it, but we changed the world from a world that never knew what Kabbalah is into a world that is interested in Kabbalah. We teach, though, Kabbalah in a way that you can improve your life. So today, I would present to you probably very deep spiritual ideas and things that are very ancient, of hundreds and thousands of years old. But I think that I would be able to create it as a platform to improve your life. So don't, by the way, get confused and think you're maybe in the wrong class, by me speaking about the tree of life reality, because the word tree of life, four phases, Spheroid, the 10 luminous emanations are only different names that apply to the same ideas. And the idea that we are learning today is how do we learn to be able to better manifest things in our life. This will be probably more today than other. The Rav, my teacher, taught the study of the 10 luminous emanation, that four phases is just part of it, just different aspect of the same study. The Spheroid, it was in many, many different cycles. I learned with him in classes at 1981 in Tel Aviv, this subject and idea. And then, I'm sorry, maybe it was 1979. And then in 1981, I studied it again with him personally in his house with a very small group of people that was sitting and studying this knowledge. And then he was teaching it also from 1985 till 1996. And I had the privilege and the merit to participate in all these classes. And I have to tell you that it wasn't easy at first. And I think that today, with what we have, I can make it a little easier for you to grasp these deep and profound ideas. So today, I would share with you the most important fundamentals of the tree of life reality, of the 10 Spheroid understanding, and of the four phases. So a little bit history. The study of the 10 Spheroid was actually created about, I would say, 450 years ago. It was the year 1550 that a Kabbalist named Rav Isaac Luria lived in Safed in the Galilee in Israel. And he, at very early age, realized the way the universe operates and the way the universe is structured. He was teaching it, and he actually composed some study, and this composite that teach about life DNA and the universal DNA was later on copied from manuscript and written by his most selected student, Rav Chaim Vital, that took all of it and put it in more accurate writing and actually named it after him. His name was Chaim Vital, which means life, and he called it the tree of life. Because his name Vital and Chaim both means vitality, means life, so he named it the tree of life. And that's a little bit history. But saying that Rav Isaac Luria was a Kabbalist, his student was a Kabbalist, we need to understand also the source of the word, of the name Kabbalist. The meaning of the word Kabbalist, same as the word Kabbalah, means to receive. And what it is teaching us is that Kabbalah and a Kabbalist are people that received the knowledge from someone that was able to direct them and to explain to them what's there. And they didn't just read it in a book. And they didn't get it from someone, an individual that realized what it's all about by his own mind, by his own brain. Rather, it was either a teacher that received the knowledge in a divine inspiration, or through what people like to call Elijah the prophet. But in both cases, it was inspired, and it wasn't their own brain or their own understanding that most Kabbalists would feel that that will be too limited to teach such a profound knowledge. So this is what we call a true Kabbalist, and that is how we relate to true Kabbalah. The son of Rav Chaim Vital was the first one, his name was Shmuel Vital, was the first one to take all those writings and print them. So today we can read it, we can know exactly what they said, but it's very, very complicated. So only recently, only in our generation, like about, I would say, 90 years ago, came the founder of the Kabbalah Center, Rav Ashlag. And he was the first one that took all those printed material, and he made it a little more clearer by giving it some explanations, some translations and explanations and interpretations that he called the inner light and the inner reflection. So this is a little bit the understanding of how it evolved, this study. And I would say that when I studied with my teacher, Rav Berg, the 10 Luminous Emanation, the Tree of Life, the Spheroid, when I learned about it, it was teaching more how consciousness was created. If you want to understand what is it all about, what this study is providing us with, it's about how consciousness was created. It's not about theories. It's about how we can look at the original way that consciousness was created and evolve today. So this is a principle that can guide us in everything we do in life and the way we operate in life in order to make any process to be balanced and harmonious. That is one benefit we get by studying it. For example, when someone is planning to build a house, so most people would probably think about the part of the house that they like. If it's the living room, if it's the bedroom, if it's the kitchen, or even the garage. Some people love the garage. So most people would focus into it when they plan to build a house. That's what's going to be in their mind. However, when the planning gets to the architect look totally at a different picture. The architect will actually begin with the scope of it. So he will see a much bigger picture. He would look at the land. He would look at the zoning. He would look at so many other things that normally we would never look. So the picture he gets is much bigger and different. And that's actually how Kabbalists look at life. If most people look at life in one perspective, in one way, and are focusing in something that looks to them more attractive, the Kabbalist will be looking at the bigger picture. Like the architect. The Kabbalist would look at the DNA, at the planning, the biggest plan, and will involve so many other things in it. And we'll also see that the order that most people think, or the order how most people plan, would be maybe very different and even sometimes opposite to the way things appear to us and reveal to us. So the tree of life is not a physical tree. I know you hear the word tree of life, you're thinking immediately about a tree that provides us with life, which is in a way true, because these Spheroid, that I am about to share with you, that structure, and these spiritual ideas will be able to provide us with better life. That is true. However, it is more of a spiritual structure of energy levels. And you can all take a look. You have, all of you, some drawings. I unfortunately didn't get them. If there is an extra, I would love that. Thank you. So we're looking at drawing number 1. And in drawing number 1, we have the tree of life, which is the Spheroid. And you can see that there are 10 of them. Names, we have names that we will be able to understand later on. And the names are Keter, Chokhmah, Binah, Chesed, Gvura, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, which means crown, wisdom, understanding, grace, judgment, beauty, eternity, glory, foundation, and kingdom. Those are the names. Now, these 10 levels, 10 stages that are named Sphirot are life DNA. When I say life DNA, I'm talking about something that is beyond our 5 senses. Something that is beyond feeling. Something that is beyond the brain, beyond logic. Because it's life DNA, we can find in physicality, in the material world, things following the same order. So one of the benefits of learning it is to understand the true order of things in life. And that true order of things in life is also the order of thoughts and behavioral paradigms in life. And every creative process, if it's the physical one of being born, growing up, marriage, children, divorce, death, and definitely the spiritual evolvement in life. If it's from thinking all the way down to manifestation, it is all right here in front of us. Right now, just words, just names that don't mean much, but I assure you that by the end of this course, you would have a better picture, a more clear picture, not only of these names, but also how process happens in our life. And how do we better manifest things in life? Another physical appearance, manifestation, outcome of this structure is the fact that we find in our physical reality 10 fingers. And most of us don't pay much attention to the fact that there is 10. And that same 10 is also the number of the digits in the phone. And same would be for the most perfect number. That will be 10. Could be any other number, yet 10 was chosen to be that one. 10 commandments is another maybe expression of it. While I'm sure God could think about few more, yet 10. Look like that was the best number to choose in the Bible. I'm sure that there is many other relationship to the number 10 that you probably can suggest and that you can see in life that are so major and so appearing, like 10 dimensions that science, that physics claim to have. And I'm sure you can give me more ideas about the number 10 and how the number 10 represent a complete number, something that is having all the aspect in it. The study of the Spheroid, of the 10 Spheroid, which is called the 10 Luminous Emanation. This study is showing us that there are frames, invisible frames, that we can't see yet. In that frame, changes don't occur. Things are the same. Meaning that whatever happens yesterday, whatever will happen tomorrow, and whatever happened now coexist in the same way. And there's no changes. We see so many changes in life. We see changes in us, we see changes in others, we see changes in the world, yet in the reality we call the tree of life, when we study the 10 Sphirot, we then realize that yesterday, tomorrow, and today coexist with no separation between them. That separation is actually some form of illusion that appear in life that makes us so confused. Because we say, but yesterday you told me one thing, now you're telling me something else. And tomorrow I thought that this is happening. We set sometime tomorrow and now it didn't happen, or we become so blind sometimes. Because things of yesterday and tomorrow don't seem to match together, don't seem to correlate to each other. Yet when you look at this invisible reality, everything is so harmoniously belong to each other and cause each other and affect each other in the most balanced and harmonious way. So realizing and studying it give us so much definition to why things are the way they are and how things going to look tomorrow. When you study this, you can see what can appear tomorrow. You can look at today and know tomorrow, because in today exists the tomorrow and yesterday. It's all one. But it's very hard for us to see it as long as we don't understand how the principle work. So understanding this principle is like realizing, what's going on inside of a seed of a tree that normally you don't know what tree it is, and you have to plant it, and you have to wait years, and then when the fruit come out, you say, oh, it's an orange. Maybe some of us would even be able to identify it by the trunk. Through this study, can identify it from the seed. Because within the seed exists everything. And that's what we are learning today. We're learning about the seed of this universe. So we learned in the most basic Kabbalah classes about the endless world, but now we're learning what was happening within the endless world. Beyond just saying that there was light and vessel. What actually happened in that invisible reality of consciousness? This is what we're learning today. So, speaking about reality to make us feel so confused, so blind, and so lost, and definitely lacking awareness, there's the famous story about this farmer that one day a horse appeared in his field and was looking for the owner of the horse, but no one claimed ownership on that horse. So the farmer took the horse and started to use it. And the people of the town said, you are the luckiest person just to have a horse coming to your field just like that and become yours. You must be very lucky. And the farmer looked at him and says, maybe. And then months passed by. While the farmer was working with his horse, and he needed to go take care of some business, he let his son work with the horse. And the horse kicked the son and broke his both legs. So everyone in town that heard about what happened say, what a misfortune, how misfortunate you are, and how terrible is what happened. And the farmer looked at him and says, maybe. And then 6 months later, when there was a war, and the army came and took all the men to the army, they couldn't take his son because he still couldn't stand on his feet. Everybody said, you are the most luckiest person in town. And the farmer looked at them and says, maybe. And the story can go on and on. But there's one big lesson here. And the big lesson is about the farmer answer. That might be a Kabbalistic answer. The answer may be about every situation only show that farmer ability not to get confused and not to lose sight and direction and already see it just in a limited way like most people do. When we look at reality and be blind to more options and more possibilities that exist. That when you are aware of the way the spiritual, invisible structure is, you then might say, as a Kabbalist, maybe about every situation, knowing that there is more there that you can see right now, and maybe you will see tomorrow. And believing that things don't change or appear separated in such way. That there is a connecting thread that many of us cannot see. And that connecting thread is actually what this diagram here is showing us. So, the lesson for us from the story is that consciousness is probably the only thing that is real. And everything else is maybe. This way, that way, yesterday, tomorrow, it's all maybe. But consciousness is real. And when you have the right consciousness, that also determines how things will work and how things will manifest. So that is what we would like to see today. Now, looking at drawing number 2, you then see these levels of energy called the Spheroid divided in a different way. Not different structure, but different way. You find here the 2 top levels called Chokhmah and Bina, which is wisdom and understanding, being by themselves. And then you find another 6, the 6 that below them, Chesed, Gvura, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, are all framed together. And then the last one is separated from all, which is called Malchut. And you see how it is related to the 4 phases. So phase 1 is Chokhmah, phase 2 is Bina, phase 3 are actually 6 Sphirot, 6 level of energy that are all together as one frame, named Ze'er Unpin, and phase 4 is Malchut. Let me help you. Take this diagram, this drawing, and make it something more simple and something more tangible in our own personal life. First of all, like the number 10 that represent perfection, like the number 7 that maybe in some of the classes you learn that it represents the way our physical world is structured. You find 7 colors in the light of the sun, you find 7 days in a week, you find 7 glands in the body, you find 7 atmospheric belt around Earth, and there are many, many other relationships to the number 7. Same as 7 and 10 that represent an inner structure that we cannot see, the same will be with the number 4. And therefore, in physical reality, we find 4 types of blood. We find 4 major elements: water, air, fire, and earth. We find 4 directions. And when it's in between, so it's southwest. Why can't you give it another name? Why there's only south, west, north, and east? You can have in between, invent a word, fachkamunda, something, a name. Why not? We can do that. Yet, there's only 4. Same goes for 4 corners of earth and 4 seasons, and I am sure that you're able to find many other things that are major and are bases of so many other that are made of the number 4. That is because it is teaching us not only that there is an inner structure in everything, and that inner structure of the things I mentioned, and probably many more, are related to these 4 phases, and that is where it is emanating from. Not only that it is something that we can see with our eyes, yet we follow it in life, and we build our life around it. Definitely, if you're in the fashion industry and you follow the seasons, and so on with many other fields of life, that you would follow the principle of 4. It is beyond that. If I would like to illustrate, it is teaching us how every process begins and how every process ends. So when you look at drawing number 2, Chokhmah and Bina are representing the thinking level. And every process begins with a thought, begins with a desire. We may call it Keter. This is what Keter, this is what crown is. Of course, later on, I will, in other classes, go deeply into each of the 4 phases, and I will explain to details why, what it means, and how we can relate to it in our life. But right now, in a general idea, Keter, crown, is where every thought, every desire begin. Then, when it gets to Chokhmah, it is the stage of consideration. Of yes, no, maybe, should I not? Is it important? Is it not? Will I benefit from it? All those considerations are in Chokhmah, which is wisdom. When it gets to the level of Bina, it is the stage of decision. When we come to decision, when we make up our mind, that is Bina. But then, when we make up our mind, when we come to agreement with our thoughts and desire, then starts a process. And within that process, there are many, many stages, and that is what we call the Unpin. This process we call the creative process. And it is made of 6 stages. And when it actually happened and become manifested at the end, that we thought about, that we desire originally, we call that Malchut. Simple example for it is binge eating. It's done robotically. You wake up in the middle of the night, you feel hungry, you go downstairs, and you're finishing a whole bag of potato chips. So you went through a whole process of getting out from bed, getting your slippers, and, finding it, going very quietly that no one knows, and finding the potato chips, eating it, going through the entire process. However, at the end, there's no true fulfillment. Maybe you feel good for a little bit while you're eating it, but then when you get back to bed, you say to yourself, what did I do? Why did I do that? But it's part of what we do in life, knowing that there's no energy in it. And we're not going to go now into why we do it, more than what we do actually, how we do things. So there is, at the end, no energy, no nutrition in it. And it happens so instantly without us even be conscious of what we're doing, without a second thought. The price we pay for the lack of awareness and consciousness of what we're doing is like when you drive and you don't pay attention to where you are, and you pass the exit that you were supposed to take, and now you have to continue another 25 miles and make a U-turn and then go all the way back. It will be in a way similar to that. That's the price we pay. The moment we become more aware to thinking process, to what's going on while we do things, why are we doing it, and how should we think of it, the moment we become more aware to emotional process, and even physical process, and we pay way more attention, we then gain more control of what will happen. And the end result will be way more successful and definitely more perfect in expression. So that is the benefit of realizing how every process in life works. That is what I'm showing you here. So now we actually come to the idea that the four phases are also called, and you can look at drawing number 3, which is on the other side of the page, the circular vessels. The spiritual reality that we now call the tree of life reality, the spiritual world that is around us, that is the seed of everything, that is called the endless world, is perfect. That is probably the reason that we draw it as circles. Because a circle is a perfect structure. It represents the endless more than other drawing, because it has no beginning and no end. And when you look at this drawing, number 3, you then find Chokhmah on the outside, Bina on the inside, more inside, Zer Unpin more inside, and Malchut the most inside. But then when you look at it carefully, you find that there's no above and below. Because Chokhmah is above on top, but then it becomes below on the bottom. So there is no higher or lower. There's no bigger or smaller. There's no better or worse. And that is the endless world. It's a world, it's a reality where everything is all the time good. It is a reality where everything exists constantly. Joy, happiness, fulfillment, peace of mind, health, success, everything all at once and all the time. So the circle is the best way the Kabbalists found to describe it, to demonstrate it, to correspond to it. And therefore they called the vessels of the 4 phases circular vessels. So we will understand that they represent the perfect reality. And when we connect to it, we make our own reality better. We can feel good all the time. Many times in our life, we don't feel that good. We don't feel that happy. We don't feel that satisfied because things happen that don't make you happy. And there's enough things in life that don't make you happy. However, if you connect to the circular vessels, even if everything is not so perfect, even if things are not so amazing, even that you were once very famous and successful and now you're not and you fail, you're still going to feel okay. Even when it's hard and even when it's difficult. You're going to feel fine. Even when you don't see yet and don't feel great, don't feel it, you would still think, I have it all. And the moment we connect to the circular vessels, we would experience having it all even when we don't. So you can be at your lowest moment in life. You can be in the deepest falling ever, and you will understand so many great things about you. And actually, a student shared with me just yesterday how there were many, many signs in the past year to change. Yet that student said to himself many times, so when are you going to change already? Moshe, so when are you going to do it already? When are you going to change? And he didn't until he's driving, he lost control over the wheel. The car was total, hit the curve, total. And when the policeman came and looked at the car, he said to him, and he paid his attention to the fact that he didn't hit anything. Beside the curve and beside the fact that his car is total, no harm. Not to the bench that was there, not to the poles that was there. Just few branches, few brushes were gone. And he showed him, look, there's people jogging here. You can hit them. So he says, you know what? I'm not even going to give you a ticket. You may go. Didn't even test him of being drugged or drunk, nothing. So he couldn't sleep at night and he says to himself, wow, I need to change. And a whole list of things that he need to change showed up. So the awareness of his better life and better behavior and better thinking came upon him. So it was one of his lowest moments in life, yet a great awareness, great consciousness, great understanding in the same time. So when we are connected to the circular vessels, that's actually what happened. And the circular vessels is our soul. So if you want to relate to the circular vessels, you want to relate to the four phases, it's the soul that you have within. I know that some of you maybe took more classes in the center, and you know that the soul within is made of nefesh and ruach and neshama, different parts, and maybe now you even learn what those parts are all about. They appear also as one of these circles. So the nefesh have one circle, and the ruach have one circle, and the neshama have another circle. And this is where those parts of the soul comes in. But a circular vessel, which is the real part within us, is our soul, where the light all the time exists, constantly. And that means all the answers. That means all the power to heal. Even sometime when we feel that we're not going to be able to make it, that we are lost, that it's impossible, that it will never change, suddenly we can find that adrenaline within that charge us with some energy we never expected to have, and we make it to the final line. That is all included within our soul. That's where we get that help. That's where we get this support. It's all within our soul. The intuition, the power to overcome the worst obstacle, it's all in our soul. It's like the sun that is always shining when you go above the storm, the clouds of the storm. And they are so dark and so frightening, but you can go above them, and the sun is shining, and there's no lightning, and there's no thunder, and everything looks so peaceful and beautiful. And that is where our soul is. Those are the circular vessels within us. So connecting with it will always benefit us. This is the true part within each one of us. And that's how we relate to the circular vessels. So then comes a question, if that is so, then where the feeling of depression, feeling of hurt, feeling of pain, sadness, sickness, and death come from? Why do I feel so bad now? So confused, so lost? Where did that come from? Because we do, very often. We say to ourselves, I'll never ever make this mistake again. And before you know it, you make the same mistake again. And then you say to yourself, how did it happen? How could I make the same mistake again? How could that happen to me? Well, in order to understand that, we need to actually move to drawing number 4 and see there, one next to each other, the circular vessel, and also same names that called the straight vessels. So there are circular vessels and there are straight vessels. The straight vessels is another kind of vessels. These vessels appear to us in life and in the spiritual reality in the form of a linear line. So if the circular vessel were endless and perfect, the linear line is the exact opposite. It has a beginning and it has an end. And it has a middle. So there is differences. And it's not as perfect. And it is the world of illusion that has a beginning, middle, and end. Same we find in life, good and bad. So it was good, and then it ends, and bad appear. Then the bad ends, and good appear. The world of up and down, the world of beginning and end. And then every good thing, we always say, every good thing have an end. It's going to end one day. Why? That's the linear line. That is the way that it appears to our eyes. So indeed, the linear line is not the true world. It's the illusionary reality we live in that looks very real to us. And we, through our study here, are getting more and more to understand that even though that's the way it appeared to us, we don't want to believe in it. We don't want to validate it. We know that there's something beyond that we want to be more connected to. However, it's part of life. And beyond the fact that it's part of life that you cannot ignore, also the linear line is serving as a pipe, as a channel. Through it, the circle becomes fulfilled. And that is represented in our life as our body. So without our body, our soul cannot be nourished. Our soul cannot be totally developed, cannot be totally manifested unless I had a body that could speak. As a spirit, I could be standing here in front of you, but you won't hear my voice. I won't be able to share. I will not be able to appear to you. So we need the body that looks as a linear line and has a beginning and has a middle and has an end to help our soul express itself. Help our soul do its job to make the light become manifested and become revealed in it. And we cannot live without those two. So as you have here in drawing number 4, both diagram in front of you, one circular vessel and one the linear line, we're actually looking at what coexists within us as a body and a soul. So relating to this, understanding it would be that the linear line, not being the real world yet, necessary to be used in order to fulfill the circular vessels, would be as we getting to the top of the mountain by using a helicopter instead of climbing. It's quick, it's way more comfortable, it's faster, you get less dirty, but you're missing the whole experience of climbing the mountain. With all that is involved, with all the life experience, with all the recognition of your strength and weaknesses, your ability to assist others, work with unity with others or not. So the shortcuts are taking away tremendous amount of what you want to gain. And we need to go through the linear line, the process, the creative process, in order to achieve the goal. And of course we can make shortcuts, but that will not allow us to gain what we want in this world. The same thing is as you can't look directly at the sun, as you can eat the whole meal with one bite. I mean, you can, but I don't suggest for you to do it. Or understand nuclear physics when you are in kindergarten age. It's a little too much, and we need a creative process and a linear line to make that happen. So saying, but I tried hard, but I made an effort, is not enough. To say I try, my teacher, the Rav, always used to say, would you also like the light to make only an effort? Or you would like the light to actually help you? You wouldn't like the light to say, I tried, but I'm sorry, I tried and it didn't work out. So when you say I tried, it means that you didn't really look into making it enough. So going back now to putting all this understanding together, all this diagram together, understanding the process, the creative process, how things work in the spiritual reality, how the Spheroid are structured, these levels of energy intelligences are structured, would help us make better decisions, will help us better manifest things in our life. Because originally there are gaps that are created in every process in order for us to change it. So gaps of any kind are there so you and me can fill up the gaps. And that's what the linear process is about. Therefore, anything we do on the planning board becomes invalid when you actually come to manifest it, and when you actually come to make it work. It doesn't happen. I faced it so many times in the electronic field where I learned electronic engineering and I designed electronic circuits. And theoretically, they should have worked perfect. But when I put everything together, it didn't work. So I had to guess or use something that is beyond and stick in a capacitor, a resistor, a diode, some other part, and suddenly it started to work. I have to tell you the truth, many times I didn't even know what I'm doing. But apparently I connected to something that is beyond, that led me and directed me to do the right thing. And I'm sure that I'm not the only one that experienced in that field. And I'm sure that I am not the only one to tell you that that's the way it works in many other fields. That people will tell you that theory is one, and when you get to actually manifest and to make things work, it's totally different. Things are different, and you need to connect to something that is beyond in order for it to work. And only if you make that connection, it happens in the best way. So that's why we're learning this. See, it's the combination and the correlation of the two realities together, the linear line and the circular vessels, the straight vessels and the circular vessels. And that is one of the greatest paradoxes we experience in life. Because on one hand, we feel that we should do something, that something needs to be done. On the other hand, we learn everything is an illusion. Why do you want to do something about it? Anyway, it's an illusion. Anyway, it's not real. So why should you do anything about it? It is like that example that my teacher always liked to share. And the Rav Berg, always used to share that example of a pebble that hits the water. And in such amazing way you see that same paradox appears right there at that place of impact where the pebble hit the water, and you would expect at that impact point to have the greatest impact. To see how the weight of the pebble, the effect of the pebble would make the water move, will make the water splash. Yet, at the place of impact itself, nothing happened. You see the ripples, and you see the effect of the stone hitting the water, the further away you go. There you'll find the greatest waves and the bigger circles. And it appears in the form of circles. Maybe that's why he also liked to use it. But what does that mean? What practically does it mean? That all the mishaps, all the difficulties, all the problems are illusion? And who's going to pay the bills? The light is going to pay my bills. So I should just forget about it and say it's illusion. The light will pay the bills at the end of the month. Is that how we should think? So the solution that the Kabbalah is offering is a very important principle that we should take home today from this class. After learning about the spiritual reality, learning the structure of this energy intelligence called Spheroid, learning the 10, the 4 of them, realizing that there is the circular vessel, there is a straight vessels. Now, taking home is realizing that, of course, we need to continue with the creative process. We need to pay our bills. We need to go and make money. We need to work. We need to take care of things in a materialistic way. Definitely, yes. However, in the same time, we need to think it's one big illusion. And yet, take care of it. But think of it as the illusionary world. and their illusionary reality. And maybe that's difficult. Because if it's illusion, why should I deal with it? Just because the circular vessels, after tzimtzum, after the constriction, after the light left the vessel, or I should say after the vessel wanted to do it by its own, the only way for the vessels to be fulfilled is through the linear process. It cannot happen directly as it used to be in the endless world because of bread of shame. And therefore, we need to go through the linear process, knowing in the same time, thinking in the same time, it's an illusion, but I need to be involved with it. Otherwise, if we're missing any of these parts, you can be just busy with the linear process, but all your physical efforts will never bear fruits. On the other hand, we can say about everything that it's an illusion and do nothing physically, and we end up with nothing too. Only putting those two together, which is difficult for us, we get results. So, of course, we can just have the line, the linear line, but we need to understand that all the trouble, all the pain, all the gaps, all the lack that we experience, even when someone leave us, someone that very dear to us, leave us, and we feel such a hole within, we have to understand that the gap, this hole, this break exists so we can change it. So when we ask the light, please help me, please do something, please help me, please come, the light says, sure, I would love to help you, but help me become revealed in your soul. Help me remove the gap so I can be revealed in your soul. And that's what the light is saying to us. So it's all up to that, removing that gap. And how do you remove that gap? It's by not validating it, it's by looking at it as an illusion. Keep your efforts, keep in mind the light, and do whatever you can, whatever is in your power to change it. That's all that is required. And when you're involved with that, then things happen. So, this is it for today. I shared with you today about the real part within us, the true reality within us, the illusionary reality within us. I share with you how it appears as a paradox in our life and how we should always keep those two together, which is definitely a difficult task. Next time, I would like to begin the phases themselves. I would like to share with you how everything started. I would like to go into Keter, crown, and Chokhmah. Maybe if we have time, we go into Bina. I doubt it. But definitely we're going to learn about those two. We're going to learn why is it called wisdom? Why is it called crown? We're going to learn about some of the expression of it in life and how can we practically use this information. So this is it for today. Questions? Yes. You can maybe think of the pipe as something that narrowed down the fulfillment so we can handle it slowly. That if all the abundance will come at once, like it did in the endless world, we won't be able to swallow it. So it's like drinking, something, drinking your soda with a straw. Because when you drink it all at once, it burns your throat. But when you take a straw, which is a form of a pipe, you can manage it and it tastes well. So the pipe narrowed down it to something that become a linear process. And that's why the word pipe. And there is actually more into it because the word pipe is tzinor, and it's exactly the reverse of the word ratzon, same letters, which means desire. So there's more into it even with the name that the Kabbalists choose to give to that same idea. But does this make sense? So that's how the linear line is connected to the circular vessels. And that's how the body is serving our soul. That if we could again connect our soul directly to the light in one shot, there will be again the problem of bread of shame. So the body allows us to have the opportunity to earn it and to struggle for it and to overcome the difficulties and remove the gap. More questions? Yes.
So in order to do that, do you have to think in terms of higher and higher levels of purification for the physical body? Or does that matter? Or?
Yes, actually, it is involved with purification levels, and because the soul is actually purified. So the mikveh never meant to be for the soul. The mikveh is something that you take your body to. And many other purification things that we do for the body. Because the body is the one that is the source of negativity, klipot, illusion, consciousness, wrong awareness. That's where it's from. So the purification actually applied to the body, yet in the same time, it allowed the soul to reveal more light. So it works both ways. But yes, definitely, it is the purification of the body. But some of us might mistakenly think physical purification of our body. It is not of that kind. It is over the consciousness that the body has, that we would like to cleanse. The opaqueness, what Kabbalists call the opaqueness, the ovyu, the thickness, the spiritual opaqueness of our body that needs to be purified. So the body do not disturb anymore and doesn't apply the gap anymore to the soul, so the light can be more revealed. That is what the purification of the body means. In the spiritual sense, of course. Yes?
When you say remove the gap,
When I mean the gap, there is a gap. And the gap that I am talking about is not a physical gap. It is a spiritual gap. It is the gap, for example, that exists in a form of not being able to connect. Something that I did yesterday, that I hurt people to the fact that today I feel terrible. And I look at it and say, why is this happening to me? Why am I suffering? But there is a gap that don't let me see the connection to my yesterday action, my yesterday words, that's why I'm experiencing what I am today. That kind of gap that we need to remove. Yes?
So over the course of a lifetime, is the gap less?
We narrow down the gap, definitely.
As we get older, or when we are young, is the gap less?
You're asking a very good question, because many people getting older and the gap only gets stronger and bigger. And it starts to appear even in a physical sense that people don't even know what's happening. Actually, I just read a joke today that this son loves his mother. She's very old, and he knows that her memory is not as it used to be. So, he knows that her friends are about to come and visit, so he goes there and he make cookies, and he bake a cake and he prepare tea so they all can have that. And he knows that his mother memory is not as it used to be, so he make a list on the refrigerator and he says, first serve the tea, then serve the cookies, then brings the cake. So his mother's friends are coming in, they are talking. His mother remembered that her son made something, she doesn't remember what it is. She go to the refrigerator, she say, make tea. She makes tea, she brings to her friends, and they all drink tea. Then she remember that her son made things for her friends. She goes back to the refrigerator, says, make tea. She makes tea, she brings to her friends. And that, after 4 times that they drank tea, they all get up and they say, you know, thank you very much, we need to go. And they're all leaving. And one of them says, you know, Rebecca only brought tea to us, you know, only tea. And one says, who is Rebecca? And one says, that's the woman that works in the hospital. Say, okay, and they leave. So the son comes the next day, and he sees that all the cake, cookies and cake were left. So he says to his mother, what happened with your friend? She said, they didn't come. So, talking about gap, you know, many people, when they get older, the gap get bigger, you know, get bigger. And when we are very young, we have less of that gap. So we are way more connected. But that needs to be reversed. And studying this is going to help us reverse that. So the older we get, the younger we get. And that gap will disappear, so we will be able to remember more. And when I look at my teachers, I see how memory only improved and how abilities were improving in age. And there was more capability and more ability to do things, more than before. And that is what learning this process can do to each one of us. That's actually what we want to achieve. So, thank you for that question. Yes?
I have a question. In this, when we study the Spheroid, we have right column and we have left column and central. And in the 3-column system, when you started to explain there's the body and there's the soul, I started to think like that was a left column and there's a right column. And then, if so, what would be the central column?
So actually, the 3-column system is actually within this. But this is like a bigger picture. You know, the 4 phases is a bigger picture. When the 3 columns are like right there in it, and they only start to appear in Bina, really, and manifest more in their Unpin. So I don't know if I'm going to go that deep, because we only have 4 sessions, but we want to get the bigger picture, and that's what we're going to try to do here. First, the bigger picture, not just the 4 phases. If someone would like to know more, of course, there is the study of the 10 Spheroid, and it's in a very convenient hour. It's 5:30 a.m. You may come whenever you want on Tuesdays. Thank you very much.